We're going two at a time in this heat of the springboard chop. There you see Carl Bischoff from British Columbia. He's going to be chopping against Matt Bush from Croghan, New York. And Matt Bush off to a quick start. Good board set with his first board.
Yeah, I'm kind of going with Matt Bush here, Tommy. Not just because you saw him get that quick start. Carl's a good chopper, though, man.
Of course, the Maine, here in the state of Maine, where they say the timber industry began in the United States. They certainly used this technique out in the woods when they had a tree that was too big to get the saw through. They'd set the boards on up there till it got narrow enough for them to get their saw through. And here's a real good contest shaping up between Carl Bischoff and Matt Bush.
And you talk about coast to coast, Tommy. We are on one coast, and Carl is from the other coast.
That's right. We're out there in Celesta, British Columbia.
This is one of the most, this has to be the toughest event we do.
Oh, absolutely, especially a day like today where there's misty and everything's slippery and these guys having to keep their balance up there. A big guy like Matt Bush, a little bit at a disadvantage, but check that out. He comes off with the top of that 57.25, unofficially his time.
He had a 52 to beat.
Yeah, Jason Wynyard laid down that 52.63, so Matt Bush, a great effort, but not enough to put him up into first place.
There's about 3 or 4 guys that are pretty darn good. Jean-Pierre Mercier is making some excellent saws. Dave Jewett's been pulling his. He's just making some really good saws. Gaston Dupree's he's got a single buck saw right now that's just cutting unreal. If you go down to Australia, you run to Ron Mann, who's probably the great filer down there, Eddie Fawcett in New Zealand. So there's, 4, 5, 6 guys, and I'm certainly not the best one. I'd have to give Gaston Dupree the credit. When you make the saw, you have to file all the angles in yourself, do the set, every tooth is tempered by hand individually, by eye, hardened and tempered, and so really all the plate is just something to start with. So when a man makes the saw, despite who designed it, it's still his skill that, that brings that out into a top-rate saw.
Well, Jerry, we heard Jim Taylor mention whom he thought was the premier saw maker in North America, Gaston Duperret. And so Gaston Duperret is competing in this heat of the single bucking saw. He's a very strong man. That's his wife, Danny, there. It's going to be his second, or wedging for him. He's going up against Carson Bosworth, another strong man. Both fellows low to the ground, great operators of a single buck saw.
And Tommy, you were looking good there in the stands, and I know why they call you the Harry Carey of lumberjacks.
We'll let the saw speak for a minute
back,
while I recover from that one there. Ouch. Gaston Duperret moving through the log quite well, but Carson Bosworth is going to best him very easily there in a great time of 15.61, a superb time for Carson Bosworth.
And a pretty tough time for Gaston.
A couple of more single buckers using the peg and raker saw. Matt Bush from Croghan, New York there, and he's sawing against Brad Turner from Bendigo in Victoria, Australia.
Matt Bush, it seems to me that Tommy has always had the perfect physique for this event. Seems like a big, strong, lanky guy is pretty tough to beat.
They could use more of those saw teeth on the thing, and Brad Turner chips out. Matt Bush takes the lead and keeps the lead, unofficially 15.41. Now this is going to be tight. We're going to have to wait on the official time here because unofficially he's got the 15.41. Officially, Carson Bosworth at 15.64.
Tommy, a combination of errors for Brad Turner there. The very first pull of the saw, his front foot slipped out from under him. He got his balance back and got back to it. But unfortunately, the wedge seemed to ply the disc right off and broke it off, making it very hard to control the saw. Still not a bad cut.
Rough ride for Brad Turner there, and he is a good sawyer. We'll see him again later on this year in the STIHL Timber Sports Series. No doubt in this event, the single bucket.
In this next heat, the final heat of the single buck, Jason Wynyard, the big man from New Zealand, he's running one of Jim Taylor's Sharks. Now, the interesting point about this is the saw just previous to qualifying yesterday belonged to Dave Jewett. Dave Jewett running a Jean-Pierre Mercier saw, a man from Canada. But this Shark, it's the 3rd time that Jason's won it. Now, in qualifying for today, he was 2nd fastest qualifier. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes here. He's up against Dave Jewett, the previous owner. It's going to be a great race.
Now, John, some of the competitors say it's a guarantee that he's going to improve on his time every time he uses that saw. Do you agree with that?
Most definitely. He's not used to how hungry the Shark is, but of course, Tommy, he's so big and strong, and his technique in sawing is also developing every time he pulls the saw. So it's looking like it's a good thing for young Jason.
3, 2, 1, go!
Jason Wynyard, the longer strokes. Dave Jewett, the short, fast ones.
It's close.
Wynyard using every bit of that saw.
Wynyard all the way. Oh, my goodness.
I don't want to call that. David thinks he's got it.
Yeah, he thinks he's got it. I don't know. From my view, Tommy, I thought Jason got it.
It looked like just a hair in favor of Jason to me as well, Jerry. We'll just have to wait and see who the winner is. An unofficial time is the only way to tell.
Let's have him do it again.
Well, he's one of the most talented single buckers in the world. David Jewett displaying perfect form here today in Maine. And of course, as that disc goes off, he thinks he's got the thing won, but the official time is what we go by. And Jason Wynyard, the winner by a 50th of a second.
Dave, you came up punching the air, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I came off. You know, sometimes you see the other competitor and you think that you beat him. I thought I came off and I thought I saw his disc drop, but you know, in the middle of everything, his disc was probably midair just a little bit before mine. So there's still tomorrow.
You bet. But, Jason, you had your back to Dave. You're not too sure. You've heard one time, you're waiting for the other. What's your thoughts right now?
Yeah, I sort of hooked up a couple of times there. I'm just getting used to this new type of saw. But, no, when I turned around, Dave was coming off, so I couldn't pick it.
Jason Wynyard with his third win of the day and a possibility of one more in the Springboard shop. Just keep watching. There's more to come. You're watching the STIHL Timbersports Series. Sheridan Doyle from right here in the state of Maine was in the first heat of the hot saw, Jerry, and he put down a time of 8 seconds, and that could be good enough to win this competition here because there are so many things that can go wrong for a hot saw competitor.
You know, as I've said before, Tommy, Jim Colbert is one of my favorite lumberjacks, and Matt Bush is, in the last year or so, has really perfected his hot sawing. So this ought to be pretty good. We'll see if the saws will start.
Timers ready. Contestants ready. 3, 2, 1, go!
Wow. Wow, Tom, that's the best cut I ever saw Jim Colbert make.
Matt Bush had a great jump on Jim Colbert, had a bad changeover on his first disc, and Jim Colbert was able to catch him and overtake him. Unofficially a time of 6.92, but I think they're going to look at that line there. And John Hughes, what can you tell us?
Tommy, it looks real good to me. Rick Hallett checking all 3 discs. And I can tell you, I've already seen, it's a safe cut. So it's a good one for Jim Colbert.
Jim Colbert's time is 6.99. Here's the 2 guys up to try to beat that. Mike Sullivan from Winsted, Connecticut, and Gaston Duperret from Shipshaw, Quebec. We got kind of an odd wood size here. We're cutting 19-inch wood. Sometimes it's 18, sometimes it's 20-inch. The 20-inch world record is only 6.33 seconds, so tells you what a great cut that was by Jim Colbert.
3, 2, 1, go!
Well.
Unofficially a time of 6.36.
Mike Sullivan finally came out to play, didn't he?
I'm telling you, he's had so much. He's a man who strives to do so well in hot saw competition. But
and guess who lives right down the road from him? Jim Colbert, the guy he just wiped out.
It's hot saw day in Winsted, Connecticut. Well, that was so close. I think they had us both fooled pretty good there,
really
Jerry,
did.
and a lot of folks in the audience here. It looked like Mike Sullivan's disc came off first, but you go back to the official times. Mike Sullivan, 6.59. Gaston Duperret, and you see him in action here, 6.38. He's our leader. Rick Halverson from Alma Center, Wisconsin. He's going up against Warwick Hallett, also from the Midwest, now living in Plato, Minnesota, a native of New Zealand. And I tell you what, we're on an in-betweener kind of size of log here. This is 19-inch pine. The world record for 20-inch is 6.33, and we've already got a 6.38 laid down here on this 19.
And, you know, Rick has always been considered the best at this event. The last year, maybe, he seems to have slipped a little bit, but maybe we better watch out right now.
We're keeping our eyes on this man.
3, 2, 1, go!
Unofficially 6.20 for Rick Halverson. What a shootout the hot saw has become here in Trenton.
This is the toughest hot saw competition I think I've ever seen.
Unofficially 6.20 for Rick Halverson, which would put him in the lead by 18/100ths of a second. Like you said, Jerry, probably the best hot saw competition we've ever seen out here on the STIHL Tournament Trail. And Rick Halverson leads with 6.30, an outstanding time. But, I mean, all up and down.
If all 8 competitors. They're probably averaging a 7, and every one of them has turned in a time. That's so unusual.
These two guys, that man right there, Harry Burnsworth from Mill Run, PA, is cutting against Jim Taylor from Redding, California. They're the top 2 qualifiers, so watch carefully.
I'm going out the back door, Tommy. I'll be seeing you later.
It's not a good thing to make predictions on a day like today in the hot saw. Although it's unofficial, Harry Burnsworth time shows at 6.16. If true, that could be the winner.
And you know what, Tommy? He even had a little bobble.
He sure did. Watch this right here. On the last disc, his feet slip out from under him. That saw blade gets dangerously close to the line, but it is a legal cut. But the time, not good enough to best Rick Halverson. He's your winner with 6.3 seconds. Harry Burnsworth comes in second, and Rick Halverson, based on his overall performance in the sawing, is our Quaker State sawing champion with a total of 21 points.